What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome to the family. You are in the right place. To my people tuning in from Burkina Faso, I see you. Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Kenya, South Africa, I see you. Diaspora in America, UK, France, Caribbean, I see all of you. Now, before we start, I need you to do something for me. Drop a comment right now. Tell me, what is the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the name Ibrahim Traoré? Hero, legend, revolutionary, captain? Write it down. I want to see what this community thinks. And while you are at it, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because what I am about to tell you today is going to blow your mind. Let me ask you something. Ibrahim Traoré, you know the name. You have seen the videos. You have heard the speeches. Millions of people across Africa call him their hero. But answer me this. What is his wife's name? Does he have children? Where does he live? What does he do when the cameras are off? You do not know. Nobody knows. He is the most talked about president in Africa, the most popular leader of his generation. Videos of him get tens of millions of views. When he walked into Ghana's presidential inauguration in January 2025, 21 African presidents were there. He got the loudest applause. The crowd went absolutely crazy. But his personal life? Complete mystery. TRT Africa, one of the biggest news networks covering Africa, wrote this exact line about him. The issue of wife or children remains purely private. Think about that. This man is on the news every single day. People make TikToks about him. They create AI videos with his face. A Ghanaian filmmaker named Lil Win made an entire movie about him called Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the Last African Hero. And still, nobody knows if he has a wife. Nobody knows if he has children. Nobody knows where he sleeps at night. Today, I am going to show you everything we actually know about how Ibrahim Traoré lives. Not rumors, not speculation, facts. And trust me, the facts are more interesting than any fiction. Let us start with the most visible thing about this man, the uniform. If you have seen Ibrahim Traoré even once, you know what he looks like. Military camouflage uniform, red beret, often with a pistol holstered at his waist. This is not occasional. This is every single day. Think about every president you have ever seen. Obama in his tailored suits, Macron in his designer jackets, African presidents in traditional robes or expensive Western clothing. Now think about Traoré. He has been president since September 2022. That is almost 3.5 years. And in all that time, can you find a single photo of him in civilian clothes? You cannot, because there are none. When he met Vladimir Putin in Moscow in May 2025, surrounded by world leaders in formal attire, Traoré wore his military uniform. When he attended John Mahama's inauguration in Ghana, where protocol usually demands formal dress, Traoré wore his military uniform. He even had his pistol on his hip. He brought his own armed security detail. This caused controversy. Some said it was disrespectful. Some said it was a security breach. The Ghanaian people did not care. They gave him a standing ovation. But here is what most people do not know. His uniform has changed. When Traoré first took power, he wore earth-toned military fatigues, brown and green, standard combat colors, the uniform of a soldier who fights in the bush. Now, he often wears immaculate white. The Africa Report, a major publication covering the continent, noted this change. They wrote, the military fatigues he wears are no longer earth-toned, but an immaculate white. Some people think it is about confidence. When he first took power, he was a young captain who had just overthrown a government. He dressed like a fighter because he was still fighting for legitimacy. Now, he is established. He has survived multiple coup attempts. He has become an international figure. The white uniform projects something different. Purity, authority, a leader who has risen above the battlefield. Others think it connects to Thomas Sankara, who also famously wore military dress throughout his presidency and refused to adopt the civilian clothing of a typical head of state. Whatever the reason, the uniform is not a costume. It is a statement. Every single day, Traore is telling the world, I am not a politician. I am a soldier. And soldiers serve their country. The fist bump. Now let me tell you about something that has become one of Traore's signatures. Watch any video of Traore meeting people, dignitaries, military officers, citizens, foreign leaders. You'll see the same thing over and over. The fist bump. TRT Africa specifically noted this. Traore is known for his iconic fist bump greetings. Handshakes are very rare. Why does this matter? First, it is practical. Traore has survived at least 23 assassination and coup attempts since taking power. Every security expert will tell you that a handshake is a vulnerable moment. Your hand is occupied. Someone can pull you forward. Your balance is compromised. A fist bump is quick. It is controlled. You stay in your stance. Your other hand remains free. Is Traore thinking about assassination every time he meets someone? Probably not consciously. But after years of threats, certain behaviors become automatic. Second, the fist bump is cultural. It is modern. It is what young people do. Traore is 37 years old. He came to power at 34. He speaks the language of his generation. The fist bump says, I am one of you. Third, there is equality in a fist bump. When you shake hands with a president, there is often a power dynamic. Who reaches out first? Who squeezes harder? Who holds longer? These micro signals establish dominance and submission. A fist bump is flat. Two closed fists meeting in the middle. No grip, no hierarchy, just connection. Small detail? Maybe. But small details reveal character. The football player. Here is something that might surprise you. Ibrahim Traoré loves football. And he does not just watch it, he plays it. TRT Africa confirmed this. Traoré is a big fan and player of football. Now, many politicians claim to love sports. They show up at matches. They wear team jerseys for photo opportunities. They pretend to care during World Cup season. Traoré actually plays. Think about what that means. The president of a country who has survived over 20 assassination attempts, who is constantly surrounded by security, still makes time to play football. Football in Africa is not just a sport. It is a language. It is what connects young people across the entire continent, regardless of country, tribe, religion, or language. When African men gather, eventually they will talk about football, or they will play football. By playing, Traore maintained something that most leaders lose: normalcy, connection to ordinary life, a reminder of who he was before power. Some reports suggest he plays with ordinary citizens, not staged matches with celebrities, real games with real people. Can you imagine your president showing up to play football in your neighborhood? Not with cameras and security everywhere, just showing up to play. That is the kind of leader young Africans dream about. Someone who has not forgotten what it means to be normal. This is where things get serious. Ibrahim Traoré does not lead from an air-conditioned office in the capital. He goes to the front lines. According to African News, people close to Traoré say he regularly visited his men on security missions. They described him as a field man who is respected within the ranks for his commitment to combat and his closeness to men. This is not propaganda. This is consistent with everything we know about his background. Before becoming president, Traoré was an artillery commander in Kaya, a town in northern Burkina Faso. That is not the safe, comfortable South. That is the war zone. That is where soldiers die fighting terrorists. He served with MINUSMA, the United Nations peacekeeping force in Mali. In 2018, his base was attacked by hundreds of Islamist extremists. According to the Washington Post, Traoré took over command from a superior whose orders he found inadequate and directed a counterattack. After hours of fighting, the extremists retreated. He fought at Djibo. He fought in the Otapuanu offensive of 2019. He fought in multiple counterinsurgency operations in the north. This man has seen combat, real combat, the kind where people die next to you. So when he visits soldiers at the front lines as president, he is not a politician doing a photo op. He is a soldier visiting his brothers. He understands what they are going through because he went through it himself. There is a story from before his presidency that reveals his character. When he was commanding troops in the north, morale was low. Soldiers were dying. Equipment was lacking. Pay was delayed. What did Traore do? According to the Washington Post, he spent his own money to give each soldier a bonus of about $30. He slaughtered 500 of his own chickens to feed them a proper meal. He hosted funerals for fallen soldiers that were so elaborate, one person said it was like a great man died. 500 chickens, his own money, his own birds. This is not a man who became generous after gaining power. This is who he has always been. The security question. Now let us talk about something dark. Ibrahim Traoré has survived at least 23 assassination and coup attempts since September 2022. 23 times someone has tried to remove him from power or end his life. How does a person live like that? In September 2025, Traoré gave a major interview where he addressed this directly. He said, "They always manipulate from within. We are very aware of it, and it is our duty to participate in our own safety." Read that again. It is our duty to participate in our own safety. He does not outsource his security completely to guards and agencies. He personally participates. He went further. Security is not just a matter of men in uniform. It is a whole set of behaviors, a way of living. This tells you everything about how Traoré moves through the world. He is never fully relaxed. He is always aware. Security is not something that happens around him. It is something embedded in every decision, every movement, every interaction. He also referenced history. Mistakes have been made in the past. We have learned a lot from all those whose skin imperialism has had. We will not let things happen again. He is talking about Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Muammar Gaddafi, all African leaders who challenged Western interests, all killed, often with internal complicity. Traoré knows the playbook, and he is determined not to become the next name on that list. The family network. Here is something interesting about how Traoré has structured his inner circle. The Africa Report published an investigation called How Ibrahim Traoré Has Built His Fiefdom in Burkina Faso. What they found is revealing. His brother, Inoussa Traoré, serves in an official capacity close to him. His younger brother, Kassoum Traoré, works in an unofficial role managing communications and influence campaigns. He coordinates with the regime's supporters. His maternal uncle, a colonel major, was placed at the head of the Ministry of Defense just 1 month after Traoré took power. Other family members have also received positions in government. Now, you might hear this and think, nepotism, corruption, African big man politics. But consider the context. This is a man who has survived over 20 assassination attempts. The most recent major one was January 3rd, 2026. The plot involved killing him, destroying the country's drone base, and preparing for a foreign military invasion. Who can you trust in that environment? Your family, people who have known you since childhood, people whose loyalty is not based on politics or money, people who will not sell you out to foreign intelligence services. Is it ideal? In a perfect democracy, no. But Traoré is not operating in a perfect democracy. He is operating in a country under constant attack from terrorists, with foreign powers actively trying to remove him, and with a history of leaders being betrayed by their closest allies. In that context, surrounding yourself with family is not corruption. It is survival. The comparison. Now let me show you why Traoré's lifestyle matters by comparing him to other African leaders. Cameroon's Paul Biya is 92 years old. He has been in power since 1982. That is 43 years. He is known for spending months at a time in luxury hotels in Geneva, Switzerland. Not visiting, living there, while his country struggles with poverty and conflict. Equatorial Guinea's Teodoro Obiang has been in power since 1979. His son, Teodorin, has been investigated by multiple countries for corruption. He owned a mansion in Malibu worth over $30 million. He owned a private jet. He owned a collection of Michael Jackson memorabilia worth millions. Multiple African leaders have been documented taking private jets to shop in Paris, London, and Dubai. They buy designer clothes. They stay in presidential suites. They live like royalty while their people live in poverty. Now look at Traore. Same military uniform every day. Captain's salary of approximately $500 per month. No known mansions. No known luxury cars. No known shopping trips to Europe. Visits soldiers at the front lines instead of vacationing on beaches. Plays football with ordinary citizens instead of golfing with billionaires. The contrast is so stark that it has become one of the main reasons for his popularity. Young Africans look at him and see something they have never seen before. A leader who actually lives like them. The Sankara connection. You cannot understand Ibrahim Traoré without understanding Thomas Sankara. Sankara was president of Burkina Faso from 1983 to 1987. He was also a young military captain when he took power. He was 33 years old. Traoré was 34. Sankara was famous for his radical rejection of corruption and luxury. He sold off the government's fleet of Mercedes and made ministers drive ordinary Renaults. He refused air conditioning in his office because most Burkinabe did not have it. He kept his salary low while other African leaders enriched themselves. He also said something that Traoré clearly took to heart. He who feeds you controls you. Sankara was killed in 1987, shot by soldiers loyal to his best friend, Blaise Compaoré, who then ruled Burkina Faso for 27 years. The parallels between Sankara and Traoré are obvious. Both young captains, both took power through coups, both rejected Western influence, both lived simply. Both built their legitimacy on being different from the corrupt leaders who came before. But Traoré has learned from Sankara's fate. Sankara trusted too much. He refused heavy security. He believed in the goodness of people around him. That trust killed him. Traoré does not make that mistake. His security is tight. His inner circle is controlled. His family occupies key positions. He personally participates in his own protection. He said it himself, mistakes have been made in the past. We will not let things happen again. Traoré is trying to be Sankara, but smarter. Sankara, but surviving. The mystery continues. So what do we actually know about Ibrahim Traoré's private life? Almost nothing. We know he was born on March 14, 1988, in Bondokui, a small rural town in western Burkina Faso. We know he was described as quiet and very talented in school. We know he studied geology at the University of Ouagadougou and graduated with honors. We know he was part of the Association of Muslim Students and the Marxist National Association of Students of Burkina Faso. We know he joined the army in 2009 and rose through the ranks. We know he was trained in Morocco. We know he fought in Mali and earned recognition for courage under fire. We know he fought terrorists in northern Burkina Faso for years. We know he launched a coup in September 2022 and became the world's youngest head of state. But his wife, his children, his home, his hobbies beyond football, his friends outside the military, what he does on a Sunday afternoon, nothing, silence, mystery. In an age where every celebrity posts their breakfast on Instagram, where influencers share every detail of their lives, where even politicians do podcasts and TikToks, Ibrahim Traoré remains an enigma. And you know what? Maybe that is the point. In a world of oversharing, privacy is power. If you don't know where he lives, you cannot find him. If you don't know his routines, you cannot predict him. If you don't know his wife and children, you cannot use them as leverage against him. His privacy is not a mistake. It is a strategy. A survival strategy developed by a man who knows that powerful forces want him dead. The village boy. Let me take you back to the beginning. Ibrahim Traoré was born in Bondokui. If you have never heard of it, you are not alone. It is a small rural town in western Burkina Faso. Not a city, not even a major town, a village. He did not grow up with privilege. He did not have wealthy parents who sent him to private schools in Paris. He did not have connections in government or business. He was a village boy who was good at school. His teachers described him as quiet, not the loud kid seeking attention, not the troublemaker. Quiet, focused, talented. He went to secondary school in Bobo Dioulasso, the second largest city in Burkina Faso. Then to the University of Ouagadougou, where he studied geology. Not politics, not law, not economics. Geology, the study of rocks and minerals. He graduated with honors. He could have become a mining engineer. He could have worked for one of the foreign companies extracting gold from Burkina Faso's soil. He could have made money. Instead, he joined the army. Why? We do not know for certain. But consider the context. This was 2009. Burkina Faso was struggling. Terrorism was rising. Young men from villages like Bondokui were being killed. Maybe Traoré felt a duty. Maybe he wanted to protect his community. Maybe he just wanted a stable job. Whatever the reason, he chose the path of a soldier. And that choice led him here, to the presidency, to international fame, to becoming a symbol for millions of young Africans. From Bondokui to the Kremlin, from village boy to Putin's guest of honor. That is the Traoré story. The white uniform meaning. I mentioned earlier that Traoré's uniform has changed from earth tones to white. Let me explain why this matters more than you might think. In military culture, uniform color carries meaning. Camouflage is for combat, for hiding, for survival. When Traoré first took power, he dressed like a man still in the fight, still in the bush, still in danger. White is different. White does not hide. White stands out. White says, I am not hiding anymore. I am here. See me. There is also a spiritual dimension. In many African cultures, white symbolizes purity, clarity, and spiritual authority. It is worn by traditional leaders and healers. It represents a connection to something higher than politics. Some have also connected it to Thomas Sankara's famous white cotton tunic. Sankara promoted local textile production and often wore white clothing made in Burkina Faso. By wearing white, Traoré may be invoking that legacy. And then there is the practical element. White shows dirt. White shows blood. White shows any imperfection. By wearing an immaculate white uniform, Traoré demonstrates discipline and attention to detail. Every day, that uniform must be perfect. That requires effort. That requires standards. Small detail? Perhaps. But leaders are made of small details. The global stage. In May 2025, something remarkable happened. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, was hosting the Victory Day celebrations in Moscow. This is one of the most important events in the Russian calendar. The 80th anniversary of victory over Nazi Germany. Putin invited a select group of world leaders. Xi Jinping of China, Lula of Brazil, Maduro of Venezuela, and Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. Think about that list. China, Brazil, Venezuela, Egypt. These are major countries, major economies, major powers. And then a 37-year-old captain from a landlocked West African country that most Westerners cannot find on a map. Putin sent a special Kremlin jet to bring Traoré to Moscow. Not a commercial flight, not a regular diplomatic arrangement. A personal aircraft from the Russian government. When Traore arrived, African students in Moscow mobbed him. They wanted photos. They wanted to shake his hand. They wanted to be close to this man who had become their symbol. At the Kremlin, Traore stood with world leaders. He spoke about imperialism. He spoke about terrorism. He spoke about Africa's right to choose its own partners. And then he flew back to Burkina Faso, back to the uniform, back to the front lines, back to the daily reality of leading a country at war. This is the duality of Ibrahim Traoré. One day he is standing with Putin and Xi. The next day he is visiting soldiers in remote outposts. He moves between worlds in a way that few leaders can. The meaning. So what does all this tell us about Ibrahim Traoré? First, he is consistent. The same uniform every day. The same lifestyle since taking power. The same values he had as a captain. Power has not changed him because he will not let it. Second, he is disciplined. Military discipline is not just about following orders. It is about self-control, about doing the hard thing when the easy thing is available. Traoré could live in luxury. He chooses not to. Third, he is strategic. The privacy, the security, the family network, the personal involvement in his own protection. These are not random choices. They are calculated decisions by someone who understands the game he is playing and the forces arrayed against him. Fourth, he is connected. The football, the frontline visits, the fist bumps. He has not sealed himself in a palace. He maintains contact with ordinary life, with ordinary people, with the soldiers who fight and die for the country. Is he perfect? No leader is. Is he beyond criticism? Absolutely not. Human rights organizations have raised concerns. Journalists have been silenced. The security situation remains dire. But on the simple question of how a leader should live, Traoré offers an answer that Africa has rarely seen. Live like the people you serve. Stay connected to reality. Do not let power change who you are. And above all, survive. Because you cannot help your people if you are dead. Closing. We have covered a lot today. The eternal uniform, the fist bump greeting, the football matches, the frontline visits, the security consciousness, the family network, the strategic privacy, the Sankara connection. These are the things we know about how Ibrahim Traoré lives. The things we do not know might be even more interesting, but we may never learn them. And perhaps we do not need to. What matters is what we can see. A young African leader who has chosen a path radically different from his predecessors. A man who lives simply in a world that rewards excess. A soldier who never stopped being a soldier, even when he became a president. Now I want to hear from you. What surprised you most about Traoré's lifestyle? What questions do you still have? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and if you learned something new today, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It helps the algorithm show this video to more people. Subscribe if you have not already. We are building something here, a community that tells the truth about Africa and its leaders. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. Someone who thinks all African leaders are corrupt. Someone who has lost hope that change is possible. Because Ibrahim Traoré, whatever his flaws, whatever criticisms you might have, represents something. Proof that a different kind of leadership exists. Proof that power does not have to corrupt. Proof that an African president can live like an African citizen. And that proof is worth spreading. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this community. The revolution continues. Long live discipline. Long live sacrifice. Long live truth.